We have with us none other than Mr. Vivek Gupta.
How many of you think that an architect needs to take complete onus of the project that they are doing? And for that, sometimes turnkey projects are the way forward.
Richa Bahl from Richa Bahl Design Studio.
Until someone actually bought a house and gave me their house keys and said, now start. And that's how my career began.
Priyanka Mehra from PS Design.
Didn't want to be anything but an architect. I never, like people ask me, if not an architect, what else? I never had any other thought on my mind. I just wanted to be an architect.
By Nina Puri from Sanjay Puri Architects.
I don't believe that design should be focused on using expensive materials or new materials. It's basically we do our designs responsive to the client and to the climate.
Muninder Chowdhry from S.Alt.
Whether you like it or not, and Zaki spoke about this, you are the contractor. And the sooner you embrace it, the better. Right? We started 10 years sitting on a pedestal and saying, we're the architects, you do this, you do that. But nobody can. The business is a mess.
Khozema Chitalwala from Designers Group.
I met somebody sitting on a charitable program. We were both sharing the dais, and that gentleman got up and he gave me a big hug saying, Khozema, how are you? And then all of a sudden I was shook. I went back and I saw that he was my first client.
We've got some extremely eminent panel, and architecture being a practice-based profession, if all of you and every one of you is going to start their practice, we are going to lay the blueprint, and they will unveil the blueprint for successful practices. As you can see, I've got such stalwarts with me. First of all, Nina, I think this is her first time on a panel, and she's very shy of speaking. Sanjay takes the limelight, but I ensured that this time we will steal the thunder from him. We will have Nina speak about what actually is the blueprint that she has laid out for such a successful practice. I have Richa, amazing practice again, solo practice. All the others are family-driven practices, not first generation, but then they have support system. Richa being the only one here, apart from me, but I'm not a successful practice. Richa is the one who's run an amazing practice. Muninder has got Vishaka's support, and so he actually comes on the limelight. She's the woman behind him and who makes it possible. I think so. I think that secret will come. Priyanka's story is amazing. She's the one who started, this is out-of-town girl. She came to Bombay from Delhi, worked for a bit with Hafiz, and set up her own practice. Back in the days, should I say that? No, it's not so back in the day, but she started a practice, and I think then Piyush joined. And ever since, I don't know who's making whom work, but the practice is flourishing. Khozem goes without saying, he corners, 4,000, 5,000 room nights or rooms in this country, and ably assisted with Sujata and Alisha now. So he only travels and he gets the projects. They are the ones who are working behind the scene. So yeah, we're all set to go now. I would actually want to involve all of you in this because we have a lot of questions, as budding architects who are going to be setting up practice. Maybe you'll have a lot of questions about how did these guys succeed. They are the poster boys and girls of great architectural practices, and it gives us hope after some of the very demoralizing talks that I heard about architecture being a very difficult profession and how you have to negotiate and navigate your way through clients and processes and everything. I think it's a cakewalk. Looking at them, I feel it's been a cakewalk, and all of them will tell you that. So I'll start with Nina. Nina. Now, we all know Sanjay, and Sanjay has been literally hogging limelight everywhere, from Insta to every talk show. And the moment he's going to walk in, this hall is going to be completely full. So I had hoped that, he's going to be around, so we'll at least have the house full. But nonetheless, Nina, we all know that you guys started together. I think you run one of the finest practices in the country in terms of also the divergent kind of projects that you do, and across the country, geographies. Tell us who wears pants in the office.
Him, whether it's home or office, he wears the pants.
Why do you allow that? Yeah. But having said that, I see, I really admire and appreciate an architect going to every site. Sanjay is one of those guys. You will find him. Maybe the nearest connectivity to an airport could be 5 hours away, but you'll find him at the site in 45 degrees or 2 degrees or whatever. He goes 3 times on the site, puts a picture, Instagram picture. Everybody thinks Nina goes 30 times, and that's the secret of the success of the practice. Nina, you want to throw some light on that, please?
Yes. So basically, he designs the overall structure that is completely his baby. I just carry forward his design, look into the details, because no site can be finished unless you look into finer details of a project. So I am there to do all the back work for him.
Great point. Yeah. So, we all know that drawing board is one thing, but the sites are the other challenge that come. And unless an architect's design is translated very, very methodically to the true vision that the architect had, it won't be in the shape that it comes finally. Richa, tell us a bit about your practice and how you've navigated your way to success.
I think I just stumbled into this profession. I started my serious real life career actually in advertising. And
Sorry, just to fill you in, to the best of my knowledge, Richa is an accidental interior designer who's not trained either in interior design or architecture. Is that correct?
Yes. Learned everything on the job, on the site, with the contractors, doing it myself. So I guess that was my school of learning. And being in advertising, my heart was somewhere not in that. And I would just do a lot of pro bono things for people. I would just set up offices and homes, and until someone actually bought a house and gave me their house keys and said, now start. And that's how my career began. And I learned everything on the job, and it's just been super fun, and it's been interesting. And I've learned so much from my advertising, the whole insights, the whole understanding of who you're doing, what you're doing. And that really helps me. And that's been the core of my practice. Because I really don't come from a place of creating structures, but more of creating a home which has feelings, it has a look about it, there is a story behind it, so it comes from a very different kind of a space. So it's a bit of a journey of my life, which has gone into what I do now.
Great. So these are positive vibes, We spoke in the previous panel about, architecture. Hiren Bhai very, very strongly advocated that architecture is not just an Instagram picture, which I advocate extremely strongly. It's about an experience. It's putting a soul into that space that an architect creates for an interior designer. And I think Richa has done that beautifully, really.
Thank you.
Priyanka, to you, I know back in the day when you started your practice, an out-of-town girl, being a woman on her own completely, I know how difficult it can be. And despite the fact that I feel women are far more stronger, far more creative, they have a very focused mind. You can all clap. All the women at least can clap for that. So was it really difficult? Did you really negotiate your way through? I know you can do 1 or 2 Hindi galis well. So was it easy for you? How did it go?
I love how Shantanu says many. Clearly, he's heard me. So, it's not been a cakewalk. And I started the company in 2009. And I was not from Bombay, I was from Delhi. Shifted to Bombay to work with the architect Hafiz Contractor. And I think I told this story to Vivek when I was like 7 drinks down, and I think that's why he has me here.
We want to hear the same story.
Yeah. So, I think it's a great platform to tell this on, but, I actually was thrown out of my job. 2008 was a bad time for all of us, for architecture in general. And I really lost the job, and I didn't have an option. As you know, growing up, I didn't want to be anything but an architect. I never, like people ask me, if not an architect, what else? I never had any other thought on my mind. I just wanted to be an architect. So, of course, I had great friends who gave me an opportunity, like how Richa says that, you know, chal mera ghar design kar de. That's how it literally started. The first few years were very difficult. First, a city where you don't know anybody, you're on your own, and being a woman. And it's not as easy as it is now, it looks. I think what you just said, that ours is a practice. You know, you learn on the job. It's not something, I don't think architecture schools in our country are still equipped to teach us everything. I have so many people who come to me who don't know BOQs, who don't know so many details. I'm sure some, like Richa, I don't know if you've designed a hospital till now, but if you were given an opportunity to design a hospital, you'll not say no, and you will learn on the job. So literally we've all learned on the job, and I think the love for the profession comes from the fact that you really actually like doing what you do. So yeah, that's what it is.
So practice and passion is what Priyanka's mantra for success has been. And as we all know, when my opening statement was that architecture is a practice-based profession. So you learn on every job, like Bhiren was saying, he's still learning. All of us are still learning. Every project, every client, every climate, and every context that you're building in teaches you something. The other success mantra, I think, which has been mastered by Khozema, is that he's specialized in a certain kind of, he's the king of hospitality today. As I said, across the brands, Khozema has got, and across the geographies, I think he's doing, I could be wrong, 4,500 rooms tonight.
Currently little more.
Sorry?
Currently little more.
Little more. Listen, last time I met him about a week back, it was 4,500. If it's increased, so you can imagine what a successful design practice he has. Khozema, do you want to tell us whether a jack of all or specialize in one is a better way to deal with things? My second question to you would be that you actually love doing hospitality interiors. As an architect, are you not bent towards also doing the architecture?
So I will answer your second question first. Once an architect is always an architect. And I couldn't resist myself. So fortunately for me, I started doing architecture, and that too also focused only in hospitality. So we started doing architecture. We are doing great. We are doing great in terms of number of projects, in terms of architecture as well. So, but yet again, what we decided a couple of years back, 25 years back, that we want to create a niche practice of hospitality. We are doing similarly, we are following the process also in terms of architectural practice also. As far as trying to create a niche practice, I think so. I am very happy because I'm sorry. One thing which I always felt, and I had a passion towards doing some public spaces, and I found that hospitality was one of those public spaces designs which is very challenging because in certain cities we are doing 3 and 4 properties, which is a big challenge, and we have to create. Each and every hotel has its own identity. So how many nuances you can take, how many narratives you can take, but yes, yet today also we can manage. And I think so this is all because of the passion. This is all because of our liking and our complete team's liking, who has decided to devote so much of energy to hospitality. The best example is when everybody during lockdown was struggling, we were very well off. Because something which we felt is lot of projects got stalled. But a lot of our projects continued. There were sites where people were housed, 100, 150, 200 people were housed in order to continue the project. Seeing that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, whenever this lockdown happens, there is going to be a burst. And that's what we are seeing it in hospitality.
So I think the notion is light at the end of the tunnel. I think if you are positive, then you don't see the tunnel. You only see the light. So that's a positive takeaway. And I think Khozem's practice continuing during for capacity building during the COVID has impacted all of us. Today, no rooms are available for less than 30,000 rupees in this country. But I do admire and appreciate about hospitality design that each design has to be extremely unique. You have to be on your feet. No two designs, no two public spaces, no two restaurants, no two rooms can look alike, despite the fact that some of the brands are now moving towards cookie cutter model where a Marriott has the same kind of a room, same size of a room and stuff like that. That brings me to another kind of practice that more often than not, all of you gravitate towards, right, at least in the beginning of your career. Like everybody else spoke, in the journey of their life of practice, they started with homes. And Muninder and Vishaka's practice also is based largely on residential architecture. And I think even in my journey, for me, somebody like me who started on day one of graduation, I started with literally, if somebody's son is getting married and they would tell me, can you do a suite for them? So I used to sit in the toilet and remodel the toilet whole night, So that passion has to be there. Architecture is, an architectural practice is always going to be really hard work. You need to put in hard yards. Only then you can sit on a panel like this and talk about success of your architectural practice. So Muninder, tell us something about your practice. How did you start? I know that you went to Pratt, you did masters. Does it help? The other thing is also there is a lot of question about, should you start practice? When should you start? Should you gain some knowledge? Go do your masters like you did? Any take on that?
Yes, I have a strong feeling on that based on my personal experience and journey that we took. Much like you, Vivek, Vishaka and I started this practice right out of college. I was still writing my thesis. And we got the opportunity to do work and we chased it. And like you said, it's all hard work from that point on. And learning on the job, seeing how things go and figuring it out. And we sort of fought through it. At some point, 3 years into that, I left for my master's. Stopped the practice, shut it down. It was a big move. We had a lot of work. We had some big names on the portfolio. Vishaka was pissed off. But I was very clear that I wanted that exposure. I wanted that little next step. Otherwise, I felt I would get stuck and be doing the same thing.
Did you go alone chasing somebody or?
I chased the demigod of architecture, my mistress. Okay. And we both moved to New York, worked there for about 7 years, and then moved back and restarted the practice in 2009. And we've been here since.
Great. So some people feel and say, somebody like me who doesn't do residential architecture, because I find it extremely difficult to deal with egos, deal with different people in the same household. There's not one client. There are more often than not 5 different clients that you deal with. Richa, how's your experience been in the residential? And how do you negotiate your way through those 4-5 egos, 4-5 people, their wish list and everything, and come out on a joint platform where all of them give you the next project?
Starting with today's experience.
Yeah, today has been a little bit annoying, which is I must say, it's a one-off. But literally, I bully my clients, and
you do?
yeah, because there's I think it's a little journey which you have to take with them, and till the point that you have reached the stage where they are in confidence and they know what you're doing it for their own good. And that when that penny drops in their head, then they're completely okay with what you suggest and what you do. But that takes a little bit of time, because sometimes what happens is you work with someone who completely is on a different page from you, So getting those thoughts together, getting those energies together, the entire process takes a bit of a time. So each case is different usually, but honestly, I'm pretty blessed with the kind of clients I have. But sometimes, of course, when I'm dealing with a family, then it becomes a little bit of a painful process because, you know, you have to literally keep reminding them, guys, we cannot take decisions from 5 different people. I need one person to give decisions. So those are little hand-holding things, but I guess in our business, we really start becoming even HR to a larger extent, because sometimes you're even like mediating between within the family. You're doing this. You can't help it, you know. Yeah, sometimes sometimes you're even like telling them no, it's okay, and they have this big concern about leaving one place and moving to another place. I literally remember I did a house in Hyderabad, and this client of mine was leaving Delhi after living there for 40 years, and she had cold feet moving back, and she's like, what will I do? How will I literally had to brainwash her, telling her, and I actually got one of my friends to become friends with her. My friend's mom became her friend so that she can get her back. So you have to do all kinds of things because it just goes way beyond what designing. You know, it's just become such a relationship. Like I think for all of us also, we all have those building relationships with our clients by end of the day. Like even if 4 years later they go on a holiday, they send you a photo of something, can I buy this for my house? And you're like, yeah, I mean, it's your house, buy it now, you know. Or, you know, I mean, you can go anytime and eat at their house, and, you know, their family becomes your thing. They want to send their kids at some point to intern with you. So it just becomes, it's far more than just creating a space for someone. So
it's building relationships, essentially.
Absolutely.
You bully, you bluff, you make friends, and you are a grief counselor, you know, all the roles that an architect needs to play, especially when you're doing residential architecture.
Sorry, Vivek, I don't know if you studied psychology in architecture or not, but there was a...
I didn't study only. I'm the least educated in my family, you know.
So there was a 6 months, semester where we were studying psychology in architecture. I don't know if it was for all of you or not, if you studied architecture.
Should have been marriage counseling in architecture.
No, but it is.
And even
because
family disputes.
Exactly.
Client's marriage and our marriage also.
मेरे भाई का रूम मेरे से बड़ा कैसे है? ये वाला carpet मेरे रूम में क्यों नहीं लगा? And you know, when I was studying this, I think it was in the 7th semester, I was like, psychology in architecture, why? I think 3 years into the profession, I understood why. Because you become you have to actually counsel. You know, like Richa says, you have to counsel them. It's like, no, this is good for you. This is good for your husband. This is good for your wife. And, you know, that's what it is. That's what the profession is about, largely.
So these 3 who do a lot of residential architect, they will put you on the path to this kind of a thing. But let me tell you that an architect goes beyond that.
For this simpler solution will be suno sabki karo apni.
That's what.
No, I agree
so
with
I'm
that.
also saying, you know, somebody like
that's
us.
what it is.
And
but
Richa said the same thing, and I want to get behind that, how she said she bullies her clients. It took us 10 years to learn that you have to bully your clients.
Yeah.
You have to lead with a firm hand. That's what you're hired
I think
for.
what helps is having a husband who's really nice, because then you can bully and the husband.
Piyush, you can raise your hand.
Yeah.
Good
so
cop.
Then, yes.
See, that's the advantage
husband
of
yeah, I
the
know. I'm
couple
sorry,
practice.
Richa.
Yeah.
That is something you're missing out.
You know, but on a serious note, guys, you also need to, as an architect, you know, somebody like me, who's 90% of the projects, I would say doesn't have a client. You know, when you're doing institutional projects, only the brief or maybe the space program can come from your client, which could be an institute, which could be a government body or something like that. And then the client changes because the Secretary Government of India has changed or the client has changed. So the onus remains on the architect to take that project forward in the true spirit that it was. And again, from the previous panel, a whole lot of them spoke about how a passion-driven project has to be, where you have to stay honest and true to the spirit of that project and do that. Nina, on that, I know that in the different geographies that Sanjay and you practice, I know that there is and you also do some very large homes. There is the temptation of using expensive material because the brand Sanjay Puri and Nina Puri is such that people sometimes come to you. But I see a very distinct kind of a practice where you have always respected the climate that you are building in, the context that you are building in. Is that one of the most important thing? And also the client that you're building for. That's how you get your repeat clients. So what do you say on that?
So I don't believe that design should be focused on using expensive materials or new materials. It's basically we do our designs responsive to the client and to the climate. It's very important to study in India the climate influences on our lifestyle. So our materials could be very basic because that suits the particular area. So we don't believe a luxury or a new look can be created only by expensive materials. It's a design, it's the client's needs and the availability. We have to all become aware that we should not be using materials from a long transport. It should be easily available. We have to promote our own Indian materials, which we strongly believe in.
I think that's the sustainable way of practicing. Your procurement leads have to be shorter. The shorter lead time that is there, both from procurement point of view and lead time point of view, becomes extremely important. A whole lot has been spoken about collaboration in architecture earlier in this panel. Khozem, the profile that you are in hospitality, I know that a whole lot of engineering that goes into making a hospital function or a hotel function properly. There is a lot of collaboration that you do. Who prevails? Obviously it goes without saying that in a hotel room, the air conditioning has to be perfect, the water flow has to be perfect, your drains have to be perfect. How much of it is required at the drawing board stage to collaborate with all your MEP and other people?
So I feel that our practice should be very process driven. And to make it perfect, we need to zero down or go to the last T on the drawing board. We should never ever leave things, thought process half baked or kind of a thing, and then go to the site beforehand and then start taking decision at site. Surprisingly, the way we practice at the max, whether we are doing architecture and interior board together, our visits are limited to 10 to 15 max. 15 is the max. Of that includes even the site meetings, the presentations which are there with the client.
Over a period of how long?
Probably anything between 3 and 5 years.
Wow.
And only 10 visits?
Yes.
Residential people are
yes,
taking
yes.
That's why I said pearls of wisdom are going to come your way. Grab them, guys,
So we need to make process-driven practices in order to expand and in order to ensure that things are done in a right manner. Because of that, I manage only to do probably 6 to 7. Rest all is done by the team. So of those 15, probably 15 is done by the complete team. I do only manage 5 or 6.
Have a separate session on this, please.
Yeah, we will. we can have that. So as we speak today, we produce huge number of documentation, and we ensure that the processes are such followed that even a PMC or even somebody as a project site should not keep on calling us every day morning asking what is what for, what is going where. That's a precise documentation. So we spend a huge amount of money on it. We spend huge amount of our revenue. Almost 40 to 44% is invested into that in order to ensure that we can expand horizontally as well as vertically well enough.
Fantastic point. I think process-driven practices. I think that's the
way
forward.
Collaboration-wise, I think so. It is very essential that we need to give respect to everybody. Today, at the stage at which we are, we understand a lot of engineering, a lot of other aspects of it, and even operation. So sometimes at the brand level also, they would leave it to us and say that, boss, operation-wise, somebody junior who is commenting on it, somebody senior in the upline will say, please don't do that. Let them handle it, because they understand how the operations of the complete hotel are taken care of. And since we understand not from a premium boutique or a 5-star hotel, but we understand from budget to the most premium most, and across the brands. So we name the brand where we have got a budget hotel also, and we have got the most premium boutique brand also with us.
So there's a great learning here. Somebody like me is forever eating my soup with a fork. I'm always busy, but I'm always hungry, because that's what happens when you're not process driven and you are trying to be everywhere, every time.
One more thing which I would like to tell is that most of our senior level practice is paperless. If we are doing even a 25-acre layout, we are paperless. We don't generally, up till it is very essential, we don't print out. We don't do large prints also. We are all paperless, and we are. I don't think so. I have got a drawing printout on my table for more than 8 years now.
Fantastic. I think that's technology-driven company which manages such large projects without really. And I am computer blind. I can't see the screen. I need a paper in my hand. I think. Yeah, really. So there's going to be a separate session with Khozema on this. How do you manage that?
He'll do the session for us.
The other blueprint for a successful practice is that you need to be nimble, because at the end of the day, it's not just Zaki spoke about the economics of a project. To run a successful practice, you also need to have economics of your studio, of your offices, how you run that office. So I think today's need has also become to stay nimble. You don't need to have suddenly staff yourself because you've got one project and then fire them, when you're in lean period. So I think that's how you build your team. Priyanka, you've been, if I can say that, Priyanka was running the practice when Piyush joined, and I don't know who fell in love with whom, and then they were married. So she is a very good team builder. There cannot be a better example than her of building a successful team, and that's where Piyush has joined the practice. So and I also know for a fact that you really nurture your team, So how important is in a design practice to nurture your team?
I don't think we are anything without a team.
Right.
I think it's the first most important thing. I have somebody from my team sitting right in the front. That's Ritu. She's been with me for 8 years, and of course Piyush joined me as well, and I've got a couple of other people. I think alone you can do only that much, but there's not just the team, but also the set of people on site which are equally important. I think the best learnings have come to me from my carpenters, my masons, because there are details that are not there on the books and that they will teach you. They will give you the details. So it's not only the team in the office, but also on site, which is very, very important for you to build a very successful practice. I can't remember, also because I'm drunk, who was talking about the importance of the fact that the details, to bring a project to life. Yesterday, I think Kunal was talking about it, that it's not only, conceptualizing something, but how that concept is going to come to life is very, very important. You cannot, all of us do fabulous designs in architecture colleges or design colleges. We think about fabulous designs, but how will they come to life? Who's going to teach you that? Design is not only about that, but it's eventually the details which matter. And for me, it's always about the people who you collaborate with, whether it's your contractors or the people who you work with, that bring those ideas to life.
So what you mean is that an architect needs to take complete onus of the project. That brings me to a point that how many of you think that an architect needs to take complete onus of the project that they are doing? And for that, sometimes turnkey projects are the way forward. How many of you think that turnkey is the way forward? Please raise your hands. I see very few. You think architecture is a very purist profession. You are sitting on a pedestal and you don't want to sully your hands with being a contractor, tagged as a contractor. It's the ego. But Muninder, on that note, when you're doing residential architecture, where there could be variation, during the course of work, as we were talking about, 4 people in the family, different ideas, different iteration that you keep doing. There cannot be a fixed BOQ, there cannot be a fixed price. Zaki will completely kill me for saying that because he works completely with a fixed BOQ and any deviation. But then he has a matrix of mapping the deviation which wherever it's going. You are doing turnkey project. Do you think you find it a role model for a successful practice, at least for residential architecture?
So, yes, it is, in many ways. To speak to what you brought up earlier, yes, I feel that at least at this scale, at our scale, villas, bungalows, farmhouses, apartments, whether you like it or not, and Zaki spoke about this, you are the contractor. And the sooner you embrace it, the better. Right? We started 10 years sitting on a pedestal and saying, we're the architects, you do this, you do that, but nobody can. The business is a mess, this side and that side, client side and vendor side. If we lose control, everything goes out of control. So you may as well embrace it, you may as well develop the skills, and you may as well run the project. If you're running every aspect of the project, the logical next step is turnkey, because you're doing all the work anyways, right? The only thing then is to speak to what you were saying, that you have to be very, very systematized, very process-driven, because otherwise it's just going to get out of control, especially in the smaller scale, because there's so many stakeholders. Like you said, the brother, the mother, the father, everybody has something to say. But these sort of matrices, these BOQs, these other systems you put into place keeps everything on track. And it's the horse leading the cart at all times, that you got to stick with that.
Richa, your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love it to grow organically. I won't have it any other way. I can't blueprint everything, and I can't put everything from the A to Z in the. I can't function like that. I like things evolving. I like to break things. I like to experiment. I like to change some midway somewhere if I feel like I want to remove this wall. I love the way the light is falling this way. I like that flow of thing. And I think the joy comes from the fact that sometimes you are able to jumble up stuff. Sometimes it's very crystal clear and you know these are the 4 or 5 things you can do. So I think it's also very... It's up to each one of us, you know, how we want a practice to be. Does it need to be very like in a commercial, because there are budgets and deadlines and things like that, whereas a residential world, it's not possible, and it's a slightly more different world, you know. Sometimes also happens is you would have selected and decided on something and suddenly right in the end that material changes. It happens, you know. And even us sometimes, even we change our mind, you know. So it's literally like that, you know. So it's very difficult to kind of put everything in a box. At least I can't work like that.
Nina,
we do a residence probably once in 2 years or something like that. That is also for the owners of hotel. Now what happens is, जब hotel की बारी आती है, our dadagiri is much more higher, and when it comes to residence, the same thing, we have to mellow down and hear everything, keep on repeating, keep on hearing, doing this.
How many site visits then?
No, so here I will tell you, we are doing a very large residence for somebody, for a very large corporate, which came from a lot of pressure. Till date we have done 5. The drawings are all issued, the tenders are out, the drawings are done. Probably another 5 or 6 will be happening. My daughter is handling that, but I have gone only once.
Let's do that session.
that's the family support that Khozema gets.
Vivek, there is one more thing which I would like to say. When we are doing hospitality, we are not handling one client, we handle 2 clients. Most of the cases, you don't have 2 clients at a time. We have a brand who is sitting on us, and we have an actual investor and a client owner of a hotel who is sitting. So, and we are literally the bridge between both of them. We need to ensure that both of them are happy. Otherwise, one will not sign the check, another will not sign the designs.
Nina?
Regarding the turnkey projects, I would like to just share something. We do a lot of architecture projects, so there is no turnkey. But regarding the interior projects, early days when we started our practice, we lost a lot of money. After that, we said never again. And what we realized was that our focus from design was going away. We were more discussing or our focus was going, our team was handling more about the contracting, the billing, and we had to at all points explain the client that we are very clean. So when it comes to a turnkey,
Yeah, the corruption of the practice.
yes, the corruption of the practice, the client is always, I feel the client is always doubting you. Yes. So we have always stayed away from turnkey, and our focus, we are designers, so we stayed our complete focus on design.
Agreed.
But the kind of forms each day on the Instagram, Sanjay's, each day I'm astounded by how does he manage to come out with this form. And the beauty of it is, and the success of his practice is that he is actually able to put it in shape in concrete and cement and brick. So that brings us to the point that you also need for a successful practice to find the right contractor who's going to turn your dream into reality. And for that, Khozema, I thought that you need to make those site visits to ensure that you find the right contractor firstly who's relevant in terms of price and the quality that he can give.
So ours is, as I told you, it's a very process driven. We give them name of five contractors whom we not only trust, but they have an hospitality experience. There is a PMC involved, there is all the other consultant involved, and we give them all the drawings. For example, we don't give, when we process the drawings, we tell the contractor where to start the stone line or a tile line and end it where. That is what we leave it. We don't leave it to the contractor to decide whether he wants to start the stone, fixing of stone from here to there. If there is any changes, he has to come back to us and he has to ask us to do those deviations for us. And I think so. I've been able to handle it, and my team is now absolutely in line that they don't do sketches on the wall.
That's the reason you are sitting here, to give the blueprint, your blueprint of successful practice, Khozema.
If you allow me, I will tell you the biggest, I would say the success was that I met somebody sitting on a charitable program. We were both sharing the dais, and that gentleman got up and he gave me a big hug saying, "Khozema, how are you?" And then all of a sudden I was shook. I went back and I saw that he was my first client. And that is what brought me, I felt so honored and pride that today my first client remembers me. I am sorry that, and I apologized him 5 times, telling him, "Sir, I am so sorry that I couldn't recognize you by your face," because he had gotten some great
You
beard
stayed
and
young
kind
and
of
lean and lithe, and he's gone fat, so it's good. We're running out of time. I see the red screen over there, which tells me that the time is up, but honestly, the whole attempt was to find if there are pearls of wisdom that can come from these poster boys and girls of successful architectural practices. I think the way forward would be that we will quickly take about 5 questions, and please be very penetrative. This is your chance to find out how these people have succeeded in their practices. So we will take questions from, please. Anyways, to all the panelists, I'm going to ask you in one sentence, what has been to you your biggest success mantra? And I'll start with you, Khozema. You said process, go beyond that, and what is your
passion.
Passion. Priyanka?
I think practice.
Practice. Muninder?
Hard work.
For me, it's been love. And I've got pure love back.
Wonderful.
Believe in yourself.
Great. So I want to tell you, all of you, I think architecture is not a architectural practice is not a low-hanging fruit. It's not cherry pickings. It's a lot of hard yards that you need to put in to find success in your practice. Don't get frustrated. Don't think that, you can emulate any of these in quick time. You don't think there's a Shantanu sitting here who puts out a lot of stuff, and you start thinking that, I know for a fact the amount of hard yards that he's been putting in, and that's how you get successful in your practices.